Great. So hi, everyone. Welcome to today's event. Thank you all so much for joining us. So I'm Afifa from the Caribbean Climate Network. With me, I have Katrina. And today we're launching our Adapt Now to Save Lives campaign. And we're doing it with a paint party, the best and funnest way to launch anything virtually. So we're really happy that you could all join us. And just to get started, it's just a few of us here. If you could either type in the chat or open your mic, let us know like which country you're joining in from across the Caribbean. You can share an emoji, let us know how excited you are for today's event. We'd love to like just get a sense of uh just like where you're from. And I see we have Akila from Trinidad. Katrina's also from Trinidad. I am from Guyana. Which other countries do we have with us today? I know Shondell, you're from Trinidad. Yes. David from
And
Trinidad as
Tobago.
well. Trinidad
And
and
Tobago.
Tobago. Yes. uh, Vanessa and Ashawn from Jamaica. Oh, hi,
Yay,
Ashawn. We have two
welcome.
persons on the account. Great. Jamaica. I see Lisa is still having some trouble with audio. Uh, okay. She's still not hearing. I'm so sorry, Lisa. I'm not sure what to do. Uh,
We'll have
any
to type it.
suggestions? Yeah.
This is where I say you go into it, you click the little arrow next to the microphone and you check select a speaker or select a microphone and make sure it's the right one selected.
Okay. Okay. Shondell, could I ask you to please type that? Would that be too much trouble to type it for Lisa? Uh, okay. I'm hoping Lisa can be able to connect to audio for us soon. But I'll continue on in the meantime. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. And we do have a little poll just to get a sense. I know like some of you mentioned already that it's your first time, but we want to get a sense of like if you've painted before. So yeah, so I've just like launched a poll on the screen. Just like let us know like what level of artist do you consider yourself? Are you like a total newbie? Is this like your first or second time painting, attempting to paint? You think you got some skills? You're a pro, like you're gonna blow us away with your painting at the end of this. You're gonna be better than Katrina. Are you here for the fun? You see, we have some newbies. Most persons are newbies and they're here for the fun. And we got some persons that are, they got some skills. We don't have any pros, but that's great. Hopefully, Katrina could turn you into like close to a pro by the end of this, or at least make you so interested that you're gonna go paint again and again and become pros. So yeah, thank you all for letting us know. Uh, can I end the poll? Oh, great, Lisa. Hearing awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. Great that you could hear us. Uh, could you let us know like which country you're joining in from? And I see you're also new to the painting, so that's great. Trinidad and Tobago. So yeah, okay, just that's great. So thank you all so much for sharing. Just to get us started a little bit, like a bit of context before we get into the actual painting. Just share a little bit about CCN with you. If you're new to the space, if it's the first time you're hearing about CCN, uh, just want to share a bit about us and what we do here. So we're basically called the Caribbean Climate Network, and we're a network of persons from across the region who are just working together to advance climate adaptation efforts or to advocate around climate action. So we're in different countries across the Caribbean, and we want to ensure that we have that regional collaboration and kind of bring our voices together to advocate for a common goal, because we know, like, as Caribbean islands and Caribbean countries, we have different experiences, but they're all similar to some extent as small island developing states. And together, compared to like the global north or the global community, we do have we are impacted by climate change in specific ways, that we need to advocate for action around that, especially around sea level rise and adaptation efforts. So we do, at CCN, we want to hold that one voice, one regional voice together. So, in terms of our network and what we do, we support like trainings and leadership programs for persons who want to become climate advocates or want to help to raise awareness around climate change. We kind of we work on supporting our members to build campaigns, or we offer trainings and coaching sessions to really build out projects on the ground. One of the key things, one of the key projects that we're working on, and the purpose of today's event is the launch of our Adapt Now to Save Lives campaign. So this campaign, it's really centered around the need for taking action in the Caribbean, recognizing that we are at risk, increased risk compared to the global north, and overall there is like a lack of global climate action. We see global north countries, they're not taking the needed measures to tackle climate change, and then even our local governments, they go to the international conferences, they speak and make commitments, but then they come back and those are not actually executed or implemented here on the ground in our countries. So that lack of action and recognizing how at risk we are with temperatures rising, disasters increasing, we want to ensure that we have a way to call for action around adaptation to ensure that persons' lives and livelihoods, and the Caribbean as a whole, is protected, and we can have safe, healthy lives. We can live safe, healthy lives. So through the campaign, we hope to collaborate and mobilize with persons in the different countries across the Caribbean, to empower communities to demand changes and measures needed to keep the community safer against climate crisis. And we want to like empower communities to demand our leaders to commit to equitable adaptation measures. So the goal of our campaign, as the name suggests, it's getting our governments to adapt now so that we could save lives of our generation and future generations. So within the campaign, we're advocating for resilient healthcare systems, food security, protection of corals and mangroves, or key ecosystems, secure housing, sustainable jobs, and so much more that comes with equitable adaptation measures, ensuring that everyone is included, everyone benefits, and it's just sustainable activities holistically, sustainable and inclusive. So that's our campaign in a nutshell. And today we are going to be celebrating it by having this virtual paint party where you get to learn about adaptation, learn about one of the green ways that we could ensure our coastlines are protected, which would be mangroves. Katrina will be telling you more about those amazing, amazing ecosystems. And yeah, we'll be having fun painting. So just a little check, make sure you have your paintbrushes, your pencils, paints, canvas or paper, whatever you want to paint on, a cup of water for your paintbrushes so that you could rinse them out, a cup of water for yourself or whatever you choose to drink, and napkin, rag, tissue to clean up any spills, and of course snacks so that we don't get hungry through this all. So with all of that said, I will hand over to Katrina, who will be taking you through painting this lovely picture of the mangroves. Over to you, Katrina.
Thank you so much, Afifa. So everyone on your screen right now, this is what we're going to be painting today. It's a mangrove with the ocean to the background, the sky. So I know some of you might think it looks very complicated, but don't worry, we're going to break it down. And remember that not everyone's paintings are gonna look the same. It is part of your artistic eye, your style, the way that you paint yourself. That is how it's gonna come out. So, what's the next slide after this one, Afifa? You're muted.
Sorry. I'm just going to stop share screen so that you could share your
Yes, so
canvas
you
and take us through.
continue. All right,
Yes.
great. So, stay tuned. Is this, hang on, let me see. Right, so you should be seeing my horizontally placed canvas. If everybody could just like unmute, I wouldn't be able to read the chat now. So if you want to unmute and just say something, if it's looking good, you're seeing my hands.
Yep.
Everybody's good. Okay, very nice. Yay, okay, it works. Great. So this is going to be our little art introduction here. So this, what I have in front of me today is called a stretched canvas. And the reason they call it a stretched canvas is because it's literally canvas that's stretched over a frame and stapled in place, right? Now, you all could use anything to paint on today. You can paint on a tile, you can paint on paper, you can paint on anything. But I just chose to go with the canvas as I had it on hand. Today, I'm also going to be using acrylic paint. And yes, I refill my plastic container very often, so you can tell it's very well used. And these are the basic colors that you're going to need as an artist, because of course we know when you mix colors together, you get different colors. So blue, yellow, red, black, and white are your primary colors, and then green is like the bonus color that I get in this set. All right, so I'm using acrylic paint today. There are many different kinds of paints. You have watercolors, you have oil paint, you have something called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but gouache paint, Gauche. And then there's acrylic. And the reason I use acrylic personally is because it dries a lot faster and you get a lot of more textures with acrylic paint. If you put water in it, it looks almost like watercolors, but I personally prefer, because I'm using canvas, and if you look at canvas, it has these tiny little squares. I don't know if you can see it really on my screen, but basically the most expensive art are the ones that has the most material used. So you try to fill up these squares as much as possible. So I use acrylic, quite thick acrylic on my canvas. That's just my preference. Of course, it depends on your style of painting, which you will be exploring today. I have a random pencil that has seen better days. And I also have, usually I use two sizes of paintbrush. So these are synthetic brushes. There are, I can't remember what they call, ox hair brushes. There are different types of brushes, but these I find are the best quality for affordable price, in terms of like you can reuse them as many times as you want. Once you take care of your brushes with warm water and soap, these brushes can be used over and over again. So I usually have a flat brush and a pointed brush, round pointed brush. These are just my basic ones. If you have more, then that's excellent. I tend to paint with my hands a lot. So I don't know, well, the brushes will be used, but you might see me just like slapping paint onto the canvas using my hand. Because I don't know, I just feel like, I don't know, that's just me. I like to get into the painting. Right, so the painting that we're going to be doing today, like you all saw earlier, is going to have a horizon. The bottom of your canvas is going to be the ocean, and the top is the sky. And then we're going to be painting the mangroves on top of that, right? Now, personally, I prefer to paint portrait style like this, but I'm doing today landscape so that it'll fit the screen a little bit better so everyone can see the details and stuff like that as well. So you can switch yours to suit your style. And what I want to do is that everybody's painting isn't going to look the same. So if you prefer a blue sky with blue water, we can do that too. I'm going to stick with the sunset, just because I like the colors, as you know, like when it comes from the sky. So like you start off with a little blue, and then it goes down into purple, and then it goes down into like reds and pinks and oranges, and goes down like that. And then of course you have the reflection on the water. I just find it's visually more interesting to look at a painting like that. So that's the colors that I will be using. But if you want to use blues or even a night sky, you can do black and like white, and we can do highlights and stuff like that. You can do that. So it's up to you. It's the same techniques. It's just that you're going to be switching the colors that you're using. Great. So technical part almost finished, right? So when you're painting, the first thing that you paint is the thing that is furthest away from you. So in that case, our furthest thing is actually the sky, right? So using my very sad pencil that has seen better days, I am going to draw a horizontal line just right across the page where I want the sky and the sea to meet. So I wanted it to be even, half and half. You can do yours lower, you can do yours higher, depending on where you want your sky and sea to meet. What do you want to see more of, the ocean or the sky, right? So that's your your horizontal line is your horizon. Yes. So that's the only time I'll be using my pencil really for today. But of course, keep yours on hand because some people prefer to do proper sketching of like where they want each branch of the tree to go and those kinds of things. But I like with the sky and with water, colors like melt into each other. So using my biggest brush, I am going to start with my blue paint. And I'm gonna just show you some painting techniques because I know everybody said it, because you can see my paint is quite thick, right? That's just how I prefer it because it gives it a nicer texture. So can you all see my brush? Yes, you can. So most of my paint is on that side of the brush, right? So you can see the flat side and you can see this side. And now there are 3 techniques that I'm going to be showing you guys today with painting. You can go left and right, left and right. You can go up and down, or you can dot pattern like this. So you can see these are different textures you're going to come out with, right? So you're not doing this. I'm just showing you guys the textures, right? But if you can tell me, the sky generally goes left and right. So using my paint, I'm going to be using longish strokes, left and right. Right? Because the sky, what we perceive as the sky, it only goes left and right. All right. And you don't really need to see a reference picture because at the end, you're going to have something that's completely different, most likely. But if you need it, yeah, then maybe it should be sent out.
Yeah, I'll just
But
drop it in
for
the chat
me,
in a moment.
all right. Great. So that's how I'm doing it. And one thing as well, since I'm using canvas, I usually suggest to paint the edges of your canvas as well, just to make sure that it's finished, it's complete. You don't have any stray edges or anything like that. It's just one of those things that is a good practice if you have canvas that you're working with, stretch canvas anyway. Remember, you don't want any white showing through, or whatever color it is you're painting on. You don't want your base color to be showing through. All right. So did everybody see that okay? Left and right, left and right, left and right. So I went down about, well, mine is like a 1/4 inch, right? So it depends on you how much blue you want. It really depends on you. So I didn't bring a palette with me to mix colors. I'll be mixing it directly onto my newspaper. Oh yes, and that's another thing I forgot. Please protect the surface that you're working on. I used old newspapers. You can use whatever you want. I prefer to use something that is biodegradable and easily thrown away. Right. Okay, and then I am opening up my white paint now because I personally, this is a personal preference. I don't like how dark this blue looks. So I'm just going to like mix in some white just to give it like a transition from the dark blue. And as you can tell, I'm just doing very, very light brush strokes. dipping into the white and just going straight in. So this is called a wet on wet technique, where you're adding wet paint right on top each other on your surface that you're painting on. And you're blending. So for those of you who do makeup or anything like that, you know you have to always blend. So you just keep moving the brush back and forth very, very lightly, mixing the colors together. Let me know if you need a closer look. So you see the white kind of just melted into the blue because I was just moving my brush left and right. And remember to keep left and right only, don't go up and down, because then you'll mess up the texture of the sky. Right, so from there, now I remember I'm not painting exactly what's on the reference photo, I'm painting what I want. just to put it like that, I'm painting the mangrove scene that I want to see. Right, so the bad thing now is that blue and yellow makes green, and we don't really want green in our skies. I'm just adding some more white. That's the break color. So that's just one of the things that happens when you're painting sunsets. You're gonna end up with green in your sky if you have blue in the transition, right? So I'm dipping right into my yellow paint now. What I did, I used a tissue and I just wiped off my my brush. So it still has some white and some blue on it, but it's not so bad. There's not much color left on the brush. And from there, I'm going in with, actually it's not yellow, I'm going in with red because I wanted a deeper color face. So yeah, red. Going in with red, and this is going to create kind of like a light purple once I start mixing it in with the blue. Are you seeing that happening?
Yeah, I'm seeing some
So
purple.
it's turning purple from the red. So you're just using a little bit of red. It doesn't have to be much. It depends on your preference, right? I'm going for like a really, what was the word? Like a really dramatic sunset. It's gonna end up being super dramatic. And I'm just blending the blue back into the purple like that. So as you can see how fast I'm moving my brush, right? I'm just like slapping the paint onto the canvas. And that's just the technique that I use. So as you can see, I kind of went with a diagonal kind of look. So I know there's a reflection. So you can see it like, so it kind of looks naturally like clouds are in the blue now. Yeah. And I'm just taking a little bit more red and going down with it here. Right. Dramatic red sky. Right. And then from there, I am going in with the yellow. That should make it a lot prettier, I think. So yeah, yellow straight in, and it's gonna turn into orange because you're mixing red and yellow together to make orange. You can also decide on where you want your sun to be if you're doing a sunset. Remember to use lots of paint. Is everybody okay so far? You can unmute and just tell me.
Okay, sure enough,
Anybody?
like yeah, the blending of the colors kind of fell apart a little bit for me a little bit.
That's
Like
okay.
the red
If
was
you
too red and I ended up with like a purple and like this I'm trying to make orange, but like I don't think orange is an option anymore.
if you want to show me on the screen, I can see if I can help.
Okay. This is what we reach. So
Yeah, okay. So what you can do, just keep adding back the paint that you had on
yeah.
the different layers, and then it will eventually make its way back.
Okay.
Yeah, so just remember that if you add the yellow to the red and the blue, it will turn brown. So try and keep the yellow away from the blue.
Okay, okay. Red, 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 red. Red, 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 red.
So we're doing a little color theory.
Red, 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 red.
And then now I'm going in with white just to say like this is where my sun is, right? My sun is gonna be there. And I'm just adding in the white because light is white. White light, right? Right. And that is basically my sky. Isn't that cool? How is everyone else doing?
Challenge with the blending as well.
Yeah, the blending is always the challenge, but that's why this is your sky. This is the sky that is living in your universe. So just say that it's art. It's your art interpretation of the sky. Right? So either diagonal or left and right, horizontal. And that's my sky. I'm pretty happy with this. I like it. Looks like a sky. Right? So let me see who else needs some help. You can turn your cameras on and you can show me and I can see how I can help you. If you're going with a pure blue sky, you can just add white in now to make it more cloudy or less cloudy, depending on what you want. But like, it's the same thing. It's a gradient. It's going to be a darker color to the top and then it always gets lighter as you go towards the horizon. Because if you look outside, if you just take a look outside, if you have a window, you can see that the dark blue sky is what's highest above your head. And then as you move your eyes downward towards the horizon, it always gets lighter blue, almost to white. So that's just something that, I mean, that's the artist's perspective. You kind of look at color blocking. So I started off with a blue line and then added in some white as a like a transition, then the red, which turned purple, and then a little more red, and then a little more yellow, which turned orange, and then went into yellow, and then into white, and basically blended it all together to make this pattern. Is everyone all right? Anybody else has anything? Let me see. I can't see the chat for some reason. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. There aren't any messages in the chat.
Okay, great.
Feel
All
free
right.
to unmute.
Yeah, unmute and tell me if you need me to stop because I'm going to continue right ahead. All right, nobody's unmuted. Right, so I'm going into the ocean. Right, so with white paint on my brush, and I haven't taken off anything, I haven't dipped into water or anything like that, right? Because remember I told you I don't want to make my paint thin down, I want it thick. So on my horizon line, sorry, I'm going to just put white straight across, left and right again, like I said before, left and right. And it's just melting back the colors that I had on the brush into that horizon line. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. There's, I mean, artistic influence as well. If you didn't want it to be a straight horizon, it's nothing to worry about. So as you can see from mine, it's picking up a little bit of the pink and yellow that's still on my brush. And now I'm dipping back into yellow. Basically, the sky is reflected onto the sea, right? So the same way that you have blue, purple, red, orange, yellow, white, it's going to be white and then yellow and then orange and then red and then purple and then blue. So it's going to be a direct reflection of the colors that you have here on the sea. Everybody got that? I hope I didn't confuse anyone with that. So I'm going in with the yellow because that came after the white. And the sea is just slightly different to the sky. And you'll see how I mean in a minute, because the sea has one extra aspect to it, and that's the waves, right? So we'll be working on the waves very soon. Let me get some more yellow. I don't want too much blue in my ocean. So I'm adding the lighter colors onto the sea as well, as the predominant color scheme. Doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, it's art, so art is never going to be perfect to everyone. It's all up to you. And believe me, you're going to unlock your artistic abilities today, I'm sure, and be like, wow, I painted that. All right, so I'm going in just with a touch of red, and I'm going to start creating back orange. And blending it in. And if you find anything is just not blending the way that you want it to, just add more paint back on top and go again. There's no mistakes. Just keep adding paint and blending. Okay. So a little bit more red. It doesn't have to be a perfect reflection of what you're seeing in the sky. It's just color blocking, like I said. So there's that. Right, and then after the red, I added in some white as like the transition color. Everybody's okay so far? Y'all are seeing and understanding what I'm doing, I hope. Great. And then I'm going back in with the blue. Did anyone use a different color scheme to what I was doing? I'd love to see if anybody did a night sky.
I may have unintentionally done a night sky depending on how this goes.
That's fine. Right, so my blue became really, really unmanageable, so it's going to look a little scary. So I go back in, once I see the colors are getting too dark for what I want it to be, I will just go back in with white, straight white, and just keep blending it back together, and it will eventually make its way back to the colors that I wanted them to look like. It's just about adding more colors. So like for me, this is a mistake. This is what I'm doing right now is a mistake, and I'm fixing it just by adding more white on top and just blending it back together. So you see, with my paint, the acrylic paint, it's very easy to blend. So that's one thing that's great. It's very forgiving. So if you feel like you've made an error, you just go back in with some more paint and you can always blend it back together again. Right, so I'm just gonna create the purple here that was missing. And now I have the ocean. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Wow, I'm in shock. Sorry, I'm in shock at my own painting. It actually came out okay because I was like, oh no, I just ruined it. Wait, oops. I dropped it. Okay. And that's my background. I am so happy with how this looks because now you can see the sky was like this lovely shade where the light was coming up from the sun, and these clouds are naturally in the paint as well. And then the water is very calm. So a little bit about mangroves, right? Mangroves actually settle in still water, because if you had very rough water, the mangrove would not be able to settle into the soil, right, and be able to grow. So usually in sheltered areas, so like for example in Trinidad, and I think in the southwest of Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken, and in Guyana, well, the most of Guyana's areas are sheltered water. We have any other countries in the chat? I don't think so. We have a lot of still water, and that's where the mangrove seedlings are able to settle. So a mangrove seedling kind of looks like a pen, right? And when they come off of the tree, they float on water like this, basically. So they're floating on the water until they find a spot where they are able to plant themselves. And they have to stay still to be able to build their root system. So that's why we want to have this lovely still water look. In our painting as well. So you're never going to find mangroves in really choppy areas unless it's somewhere that has like the environment has changed, if you all understand what I mean. So in Trinidad and in most of the Caribbean countries as well, we have something called Ramsar sites, which are wetland ecosystems that are protected by international law. In Trinidad, we have 3 such areas. That's the Caroni Swamp, the Nariva Swamp, and the Bucco Bonaccord Complex. Does anybody else want to share? Like Jamaica, I think you guys have quite a few Ramsar sites as well. And if you're from Guyana, you can tell me as well if you know of any.
Sure. I know like in Guyana we have the Rupununi wetlands. So it's a large wetland area in the hinterland regions. I don't think it's actually, I'm not 100% sure if it's a Ramsar site as yet, but I know there was like conversations around making it a Ramsar site because it's actually um it's very important for the ecosystem. It's the area that floods when we have like rainfall for like fishes to spawn to connect I think it's a Rio Branco from Brazil to like the Essequibo in Guyana to just allow the fishes to migrate to spawn and so forth. So it's a really sensitive ecosystem, and there are like threats to it from mining and talk about agriculture in the Rupununi. So, but I know because communities also use it um for like their practices, their community practices. I'm not 100% sure if it was actually made a Ramsar site because there was like different criteria to be a Ramsar site, which might affect what different people use it for, and also if the government wants to, advance these other projects. So I'm not 100% sure, but that's like one of the key wetland areas for us here in Guyana.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, even if it's not protected, still wetland ecosystems have their human uses as well. So, for those of you who aren't like in the environmental stuff, we know that our environments give us goods and services that we need to survive, right? We need the air, we need air purification, we need water purification, and all of those things actually come from our environments. And the wetland ecosystems are very, very important in protecting that balance of supplying goods and services for human consumption. So I'm just going to add in a few things here. Back to the art. So using the brush, I had the kind of wider brush. You can use a small pointed brush. And I just use a little bit of white. And I'm just going to create tiny little waves so it will look more like water. I mean, you don't have to. I think personally mine looks pretty okay. But if you want to just like add some little horizontal dashes and strokes just to give it some wavy, watery looking, you know, uh like I don't know what to call it, texture. So like it's just like little up and down strokes just to give it very gentle waves. So I mean water moves with the air. Once the air is moving over the water, you know, they're gonna have little waves. So you can do some tiny little waves. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic, just to make it look more like water. Right. And if you wanted to add clouds to the sky as well, just use a little bit of white. Like I hate clouds, in terms of my paintings. Like my clouds never look good. But there's a way to like just use very dry brush with a little bit of white paint. And you just kind of like swirl the brush, swirl it around, and you're gonna get those kind of puffy cloud shapes. This is not necessary. I'm just showing you the technique, even though I can't I can't do the technique. You just add in a little bit of dry white paint on top of your sky. If you don't want to touch your sky because you find it looks good, I would suggest don't touch your sky. um oh god, I think I'm gonna mess this up, but it's okay. Go with confidence, Katrina. So that looks like a cloud? I don't think so. Oh gosh. All right. So whatever. It is
Yeah,
what it is. It
Akila
is.
says
Okay.
confidence is everything. And it does look like a cloud. And clouds don't
Okay,
have a
good.
specific shape, so that's like the best thing about clouds.
Yeah. So add your clouds in if you like. Um, yeah, so of course we know the importance of our ecosystems otherwise as well in terms of the animals and plants that live there. So mangroves are super, super, super diverse when it comes to wildlife. It's used as a nursery for fish species. It's a place where crabs and bivalves like oysters live, which are, important food sources for humans. uh there's a lot that comes from the mangroves. Even the mangroves themselves, like with sustainable forestry, I know that some people use mangrove, um the plant itself. Right, so I'm going to add in my sun. I'm just using a little bit of white paint and making a very small semicircle in the center here. It doesn't have to be perfect. So this is my sun that's setting on the horizon. Right, so my background is now finished. So yes, more about mangroves as well. We didn't hear from Jamaica. You know about any wetlands near to you, and what they're used for? If you want to unmute.
Yeah, hi everyone again. Hey Shanda. So basically we have quite a few wetlands here in Jamaica. I there's one in my parish, that's the Freeport protected area. We call those areas NEPA protected area, that's by our National Trust. We also have the Port Royal and the Negril Morass. We also have, interestingly, some inland mangroves. So we can find some inland mangrove protected areas along the rivers.
That is so cool. And those are in freshwater.
Yes, freshwater, because it's along the
Ah,
riverside.
yeah, that's interesting. I think in Trinidad we don't have any freshwater mangroves. Everything is like the ones that are in rivers. I think the river themselves still has like salt, because our sea level is rising so much that saltwater intrusion is an issue in Trinidad. And also, well, we're talking about the importance of the mangroves, right? So the mangroves actually protect the coastline. So if you have, say, a storm coming, and you have an area that has mangroves compared to an area where the mangrove has been removed, the less devastation happens where there is mangrove, because the mangrove is like a buffer zone between the land and the sea. So it breaks the wave energy, it breaks the wind energy, it absorbs a lot of the water coming down as precipitation and stops it from flooding inland. If the sea level is rising, it also kind of buffers the sea level rise, affecting the inland water supply. Um, there's a lot, like in Trinidad, we have mangrove succession, what we call like succession. So there are three different types of mangrove: red, white, and black. I don't know if they really named it those common names because of our national colors. But there are 3 different species, and they actually grow in bands, right? And each species has a different function in the ecosystem. So like one has roots that grow up through the water, and they're called pneumatophores. So it's roots that actually breathe air. So the roots come up out of the water, and that helps with the mangrove that's in the deeper area. And then you have ones that have other types of roots like stilt roots. So the roots come down off of the tree itself to help it stabilize in case there's rough weather. So there are lots of different adaptations with each of the species of mangroves as well. So it's really interesting that nature has developed these, I could say it's like engineering, natural engineering, because they adapt to the conditions that they're in. And the scary part about climate change is that it's changing the conditions. And in turn, our ecosystems and the mangroves, for example, will have to change and shift. And then alongside all our human processes, like, I mean, I know I'm talking from the Trinidad perspective, right? We have areas where they have cleared down mangroves and reclaimed land in order to put industrial estates or entertainment centers. And that affects our entire coastline. So there are specific examples of this where you can see where the mangrove has been protected compared to the places where mangroves has been removed. We have flooding, we have saltwater intrusion, we have erosion of the coastline and loss of land and assets and stuff like that. We also have loss of wildlife. You have like no more birds that used to be seen in the area before, or fish species are depleted, and it affects the whole fisheries industry. The communities that traditionally would go into the mangroves and do subsistence collecting of, like, for example, the oysters and the crabs, they can't do that anymore because they don't have those animals there anymore. And so it affects everyone. It does really affect everyone. So it's very important to protect our wetlands and our mangrove ecosystems. And I mean, yes, we talk about replanting mangrove, but we have to remember that nature put those mangrove there over how many hundreds of years as well. So we have to look at that and see that what we do, we have to plan ahead in order to not change nature's way of doing things as well, and getting in the way of natural processes, because that's the way that humans get in trouble when we mess with nature. So I think now we're just going to stop and continue after our background has dried completely. Is everyone finished with the background? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, I see David in the chat is saying it's looking good with the cumulus and cumulus practice clouds there, Katrina.
Great, thank you. Yes, I hope that they were recognizable. We have some geography people in the chat.
Yeah, like I'm not, I know like cumulus, like I don't remember the cloud names. I remember cumulus. I don't know if they're actual real names that David put or if he named your clouds. Like David, are they like
These
actual
are
cloud names?
cumulus, then this is cirrus. So yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
but he
this could
said
have been like a
cumulus and cumulus practice. So it's
yeah,
like
cumulus
the end of
stratus.
it.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah. Thank
Okay.
you,
Okay, they're
David.
actual
Yeah.
clouds. Okay, great.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. So just while we wait for our backgrounds to dry, um I just want to share a bit more about the campaign with you all. Right. So as I mentioned at the beginning, part of what the campaign is, we really want to get governments, our leaders in the region to commit to adaptation measures. And one of the things that one of the things within the campaign that we hope will help us to get governments to commit is actually having them sign on a Caribbean Climate Adaptation Declaration. And so, just to give you a little bit of a summary in terms of what the declaration speaks about, it says that we recognize that Caribbean communities are suffering due to extreme weather events, destruction of coastal and marine ecosystems, as Katrina mentioned about our mangrove ecosystems and how climate impacts affect them. Also, like human impacts on our ecosystems. Also, we recognize that Caribbean communities are suffering due to drought, diseases, forced migration, food insecurity, and species extinction. We also recognize that action needs to be taken urgently to help people across the Caribbean adapt to the future climate disasters and further impacts of the climate crisis that is predicted by scientists worldwide. We have all these information and reports that details the impacts that we will face across the globe, but specifically in the region as well. And we do recognize that there needs to be action to address these. So for these reasons, we request for climate change to be declared an emergency and for actions to be quickly taken to protect Caribbean lives. Resources need to be distributed equitably to help Caribbean nations and territories against the face of uh, against the impacts of climate change. And recognizing all of that, we demand that these measures listed need to be taken to protect our livelihoods. So it includes investment in climate change resilience, protection of water resources, which is critical for us, our livelihoods, just survival as human beings, needs to engage marginalized communities in the process of planning to prevent climate-related disasters, just ensuring that everyone is involved and it's inclusive, create robust healthcare systems, guarantee a just and equitable access to housing, offer equitable access to food and water, plan programs to control diseases, protect natural areas, offer accessible and clean transportation mobility alternatives, build distributed, clean, and renewable power generation alternatives. A really important one, as we know, the fossil fuel industry is the main driver of climate change. So, transitioning to clean, renewable energy is important for us here in the region. And of course, so many more measures that need to be taken depending on how we're affected at the community level. Different communities need different measures to deal with different impacts. So just uh, really looking at what's needed on the ground and taking measures to ensure that people are safe. So that's a summary of the declaration. Uh, over the next week, we'll make the full declaration accessible on the website. So we'll update you on that. But through the campaign Adapt Now to Save Lives, we hope to get our leaders to sign on to the declaration and then use it as a means to hold them accountable to the measures that they commit to. Just empowering communities, as I mentioned, to really demand the changes. Because as people in the Caribbean, we do have the power to raise our voices and ask and demand for these measures that are absolutely necessary to ensure that we have a future here in the region. So within CCN, uh, executing the campaign, we hope to do trainings, have local events, initiatives, do direct coaching and support the volunteers, support local mobilizers to get leaders to commit to adaptation. And also includes like small grant applications, assistance for organizing events or activities on the ground, support with press, digital, and just all around supporting persons to build out the actions that they need within their communities. So yeah, that's a bit more about the campaign. If you want to ask, if you have any questions about the campaign itself, feel free to, you can open your mic or you can drop it in the chat. We can have a conversation around it. Uh, yeah, and I'll just hand over back to Katrina. We could discuss a little bit more, or we could head back into painting, whatever.
Yeah, I'm happy to, if you guys want to ask a little bit more about what is adaptation, and we can get into that. Does anyone have an opinion about adaptation? Any ideas, any information they'd like to share? Please feel free
I'm
to.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Like, I'm a proponent of adaptation. Adaptation as a tool for development. I've said it openly, but I think also part of it is like adaptation doesn't properly account in for loss and damage, because straight up we're dealing with the ramifications of what happened 20 years ago, and we're not adapting to now. We're adapting to what happened 20 years ago. So that's why I think loss and damage needs to be part of the conversation, because then you properly could equate it, and then we have the right budgeting, and we could actually adapt properly. Because I also people keep talking about 1.5. Let's just prepare for 2 degrees. Let's not even talk about 1.5, at least in the Caribbean context. Let's try to at least prepare for 2 degrees, and then I'd feel more comfortable. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
That's a very good point. Thank you so much, Chandel. Yes, because we are not seeing the changes happening in the places that need to make the changes. I mean, in terms of our Caribbean perspective, we are contributing to such a small amount of the emissions that is causing climate change. But the countries that are giving the most emissions are very slow to change, because they are not going to be affected by these changes as intimately as we are in the Caribbean. I think in the Caribbean, because we are such coastal countries and land masses, and everything is so easily it's so fragile, so it's so easily destroyed. We are going to see a lot more happening in terms of loss and damage as well, and that in turn is going to affect our economies and our ability to adapt long term. Now, the UNFCCC has had reports showing what the different what is going to happen with a 1 degree rise in temperature, 1.5 degree rise in temperature, and a 2 degree rise in temperature and beyond. And the projections are already showing that we have had beyond 1.5 degree Celsius rise above the average ambient temperatures before the Industrial Revolution. So it is our reality, and that's why we do have to take loss and damage into consideration while we are looking at adaptation. We have to look at the worst case scenario and try and figure out how we as humans, as well as the natural ecosystem and environment, how are we going to work in tandem with each other to brace ourselves for this oncoming climate crisis. Does anyone have any questions or comments about what I just said? Everybody agrees, I guess. So, well, back to the painting now, because mangroves are a big part of adapting to our oncoming climate crisis, right? Because they are our buffer zones. They are going to provide us with services and goods that are going to keep us going throughout all of these changes that are going to happen. So we're going to go into a little bit of biology in our mangrove painting now. So now that we have our sea and our sky, this is our pristine environment where mangroves were coming along in their little seedlings. So if you all could see, this is my little mangrove seedling bobbing along, happily floating. And then, oh, I found a little muddy spot that is really nice and sheltered. So I'm going to plant myself into that muddy spot, and I'm going to be happy and start growing my roots deeper down. And remember, all plants grow in two directions. You have the roots that are growing down deeply into the soil, and then you have the tip and shoot that grows upward towards the sky. Who here is a biologist? Who who wants to take over the botany lesson? Okay, don't worry. I did a lot of it as well. So this is nature's engineering, right? So I'm taking my very ruined pencil again. And I'm gonna just sketch out where I want my little mangrove seedling to have taken root. So I'm just taking a little sketch, sketching straight up. So this is my mangrove trunk, and then from the trunk I'm drawing a mangrove that has stilt roots. So these roots come out above the water, so I'm just going to add in some random lines like that, like an upside down umbrella, and then I'm going to start from the middle as well, drawing branches outwards from the main shoot. right? And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I sure y'all could hardly see what I drew there, right? That's the point. We don't want to ruin our background. So I'm opening up my black paint. We're going to be going to do a silhouette, right? Of our mangrove, because if we were to do like actual mangrove painting, it would take a very long time. So right now you can probably see it a little bit better. So my little mangrove seedling planted itself here about 50 years ago, right? My little mangrove shoot. And it decided, okay, this is a lovely, comfortable spot. I'm going to stay here. And it started growing roots down deep into the sediment. And the great thing about where mangroves settle is that sediment has settled over time. So it's very deep, thick mud, usually, that mangroves live in. So the roots are going down deep into the soil, and our little shoot is getting lots of nutrients and very happily growing in its little sheltered area, growing taller and taller, getting, its trunk is growing a little thicker, and it's growing up and up. Everybody enjoying this little animation here, right? I hope that this looks as good as I think it does. So our little shoot has grown a little taller. The trunk has thickened out a little, right? Like that. Great. So this is our shoot after a little while. And from there, it starts to branch off. So remember, with paint, we're painting along with the growth of this plant. All right. I'm using a very small brush, and I'm just pulling the branches out of the trunk. All right, very smooth lines. Try to keep the lines very thin, because you can always add more paint at this point, but you can't take the paint off. So try your best to paint thin lines, small lines, find the guide, and then thicken it up after. So branches always break away in like a fork formation. It doesn't have to be perfect, because we're putting leaves on top of it after. Right, so we're just growing our little mangrove tree, who's happily planted in a estuary somewhere in Jamaica, in is it Freeport, I think you said, right? So we actually have a Freeport in Trinidad as well, where there's mangroves, so that's cool. So I hope everybody's seeing. Am I blocking it? No, I think everybody's seeing. Oh no, I made a mistake. Oh well, taking back up the trunk. I'm sorry, I make a lot of errors. So yeah, just keep branching. Oh, your background didn't dry yet? Don't worry. Even if it doesn't dry, you can always go back in later and fix it. Right? I'm showing you the technique, so you could always do it later. Right. So I'm just creating these very random branching lines. Oh, I keep making mistakes. I'm not good at drawing with a paintbrush, but that's part of the art, right? So
Oh, Katrina, Akila is asking how you made the brown. Is it brown or black you're using?
oh, this is just black paint, pure black paint from my pot.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just black. But if you want to make it brown, you can. You just have to mix yellow, blue, and red together in equal amounts, and you'll get brown. It doesn't have to be brown. I wanted a silhouette. I wanted it to look kind of classic, so it wouldn't be too complicated, because if you wanted to go into the brown, then it would have a whole lot of other colors that you'd have to add in, like the the color of the mosses and the lichens and all those kinds of stuff that live on the mangrove. Right, so this is our little shoot that has grown into our mangrove tree, and eventually it sent out some stilt roots. So the same way that I said, you're growing outward from the tree, it's just like that. So you're creating these kind of upside down umbrella shapes. And these are the roots. Now I am making a good mess of this. Try and keep your lines thinner than I am. These roots are not supposed to be so thick, but it's basically like an upside down tree. The roots, how these roots work. So these have adapted to stabilize the plant during times of heavy wind or rain or any other weather, waves and stuff like that. So this plant had to have been in a stable environment to grow all these roots. Right? I hope everybody's understanding what I mean. Right,
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
good.
all random. Yeah, it's clear, right? I'm making sense.
You are.
Okay, good.
We're just
So I
busy
have a friend.
painting.
Yeah, I have a friend who actually did her master's thesis on the mangroves in Trinidad, and she found so many different species of animals and plants that lived in the mangrove forest. So like there were birds of prey, then there are the birds that feed on the crustaceans and stuff on the mud flats. There were lots of different animals, like there were 3 different species of oysters. There were like sea sponges that would attach to the sides of the mangrove. There were like something else she found that I thought was so cool. Oh, there was an insect that used to bury itself into the tree bark and then hatch and come out. Oh, and lots of like fish species and eggs from different like cuttlefish and octopus and all sorts of stuff she found attached to these roots. So these roots have a very important function in the ecosystem as well. So it's very important to protect our mangrove ecosystems because there are things that we haven't even discovered that the function is yet on some of these, right? So, and of course, mangroves are never alone, right? We've done one as an example here. Oh, let me do the leaves, and then of course you can always add on. So I used the same brush, and for mangrove leaves, the shape of the brush is basically the leaf shape. So you just kind of pull in. Let me see if I can cut my, this can go a little closer so you can see. So I'm just pressing and pulling, pressing and pulling, pressing and pulling. And eventually, once you keep pressing and adding more leaves, it's going to fill up the entire tree. And you're just kind of going along where you put the lines that were the guidelines for the branches. So I hope this is clear. I'm gonna put this back here. See? So you just keep adding leaves. Just go crazy with the leaves. You can never have too many leaves because it is a very full tree. The tree, a mangrove tree itself, is very leafy and green, and it's not like a willow. So a willow tree, kind of the leaves droop downwards from these kind of looking like vine things. A mangrove doesn't look like that. Depending on the species, of course, you have to look at the species of the mangrove. So if you want to pull up on Google and look at a mangrove for reference, you can do that. I'm just going with memory right now and adding in leaves quite randomly. So our mangrove is growing up and it's getting very nice and leafy, and it's going to start serving its purpose as a habitat for lots of fish and birds and all the other things. I think they're reptiles. I guess you could say turtles and stuff probably spend some of their time, sea turtles, the crabs, so crustaceans, bivalves, fish, every animal that I guess you could think of could well, marine animal would maybe use the mangroves as some part of their
Yeah.
lifespan.
Yeah, and here in Guyana, like it's also like a good place that persons do beekeeping.
Oh, that's cool.
Mhm.
What about in Jamaica?
Well, for Jamaica, it's basically the same habitat for the sea life. We have a lot of birds there too. The gray heron. Um, we have manatees. We have
Oh,
manatees.
that's so cool. Trinidad,
Yeah.
it's so shameful. Manatees, we used to eat manatees here, and that's why we hardly have any left. And they're protected now, but Trinidad was one of the biggest whaling ports in the Caribbean, you know. That's kind of not really well known, but Trinidad, one of our islands off the northwest coast, was one of the biggest whaling ports in the Caribbean. We used to have like killer whales and stuff coming all the time, and then because of our overfishing and hunting and stuff, and then of course the manatees. I don't know why people like to eat things to extinction.
I've never heard of persons eating manatees. That is completely new to me.
Yeah, it was in like the 1850s, I guess. I mean, everything was wrong back then, I guess. I may be wrong on the date. So I could always check that back later. All right, so look, this is our first mangrove. I'm so happy with how this came out. You wouldn't believe. I'm sure you hear it in my voice. I'm shocked. So, like I said, mangroves don't live on their own. So you're gonna find other friends that have come along as seedlings. So, you know, my little seedling is coming along again and planting itself out here. Let's just say this one is a younger mangrove, so he's only now starting to branch out. Um, doesn't have any stilt roots yet, or maybe one little stilt or two little stilts coming out. Yeah, mangroves don't live alone because they have to have sheltered areas. So most of the time they have a community, mangrove communities. And then we're gonna paint some wildlife as well. So we have our little mangrove forest happening with birds and fish, and could probably put a fish jump in somewhere. How's everybody going? Anybody needs any help?
Uh, I'm trying to make my leaves. My brush doesn't have the shape, so I'm attempting to draw them the shape.
Oh, yeah, I know how that is. If you
Yeah.
want to use a pencil or pen afterwards, you can also do that.
Hmm. You see, Amira said in the chat that manatees were part of the Taino diet.
Yes, the Tainos,
Oh,
how do you
Tainos.
pronounce it in your, yeah, the Tainos, I know in Trinidad they call it Tainos. I don't know if it's a different pronunciation.
Oh, I've
Yeah,
actually
the,
never heard of that community. So it's new to
that's
me.
the, yeah, that's the correct name for what we call the Amerindians. So the Taino people is their actual name for the indigenous people of the Caribbean. Um, so we
I think
still have
it
Taino communities.
differs. It differs because we have different tribes here in Guyana that have different names.
Oh, okay. Can you give us some examples? I would love to know.
Sure, we have like the Capon. So like we have like the different tribes in Guyana, but they have like these names that were more given by colonizers, even though they're tribal
Yeah.
names, and then they have the actual indigenous names. So for example, like we learned in school growing up that there was the tribe that called Caribs, but then the
Yeah.
actual name is like Carinya and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. And they have like Arawaks.
So the
I can't.
Arawaks are the Tainos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we also have like Makushi, Wapishan, uh, and a few more. It's like Arikunos. We have like 9
I know the
tribes
Ariconos. Yeah, that's so cool.
originating
I
in
mean, you
Guyana.
all actually have the indigenous people still.
Yeah, yeah, we do.
Wow, that's so cool. In Trinidad, we have a few tribes, but it's so sad. We lost a lot of our indigenous culture. We have the main one is in Santa Rosa, and they still call themselves Carib, but I guess that with the reconnections now, they're gonna get back their original names. But we have a community in Moruga, and there's the Prince of Moruga. He is trying to bring back. I think that they were Taino. I think that they were Taino, if I'm not mistaken. So we have a few communities that are trying to regain their identity, but it's very hard in Trinidad anyway. Like our red house, the parliament is built on top of a graveyard, so they were trying to get back their land and like resettle their ancestors graves and stuff like that. It's so sad, like so
I'll,
much
tr-
in.
yeah, I'll throw in here like my older sister, like well, all my sisters are half sisters, but my older sister is like half Carib, but she knows it's not
Oh
supposed to be
wow.
Carib. Yeah, so but yeah, families from Arima and all that. So
Oh, that's so cool. I'd
yeah.
love to chat with them. I think that the indigenous knowledge really needs to be brought back because that I think that community was truly in tandem with nature. And I think that we need to get back to that. So I'm sure like there are ways that indigenous knowledge could benefit adaptation in a lot of ways. Because they
I'll
mm-hmm.
throw in here like straight up because of like the whole issue with like community. Like what happened was my sister, like her grandmother and her mother end up living in Canada now, and she also lives there now too.
Mm,
So yeah.
yeah. Huh. Lots of things that we could think about because our world is so complicated. It's gotten so much more complex with things that are progressing as humans. We do a lot of crazy stuff without understanding the long-term effects. So that's why it's so important to conserve our environment and our wetlands and important ecosystems. We ruin everything, in my opinion. So we have to make sure that nature is given its due. It has its intrinsic value as well. Um, and of course, everything has its purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I see you're making good progress there, Katrina. But I know we're at 11:28. We're almost out of time. So, yeah, just like
Right.
talk us through like the ending of the painting.
Okay, great. So what you're going to be doing now is just adding in your forest of mangroves. You're going to keep adding mangroves until you're happy with the forest that you have created. If you want to start adding in any, like for example, I want to add in a bird. Let me just clean off my brush. So if you want to add in a bird that's in flight, you can just do a kind of like a curvy M. Yeah, you all could see that, I think. So that's a bird flying away in the distance. I'm gonna give it a friend because birds should not be alone. Right. So we have our two birds flying away. If you want to paint a heron, so like say I want to, I'm gonna do a random route on this that goes kind of far out, right? So let's just say this is our heron roost here. So I'm just painting an oval shape and adding a little head and a beak. And that's our little heron sitting on his roost. Y'all see that? That looks so good. Oh my gosh. Okay. It
That's
actually
so
looked like a
cute.
bird. It looked like a bird. That could have gone so wrong. Right. And then of course, when you're finished with your painting, you've added all your wildlife, you can then sign your painting. So the way I sign off my paintings is that I put my initials, and the year that it was painted. So 22. I can't believe it's this year already. And it's so cool when you go back and you look at it and it's like, wow, I painted it that year is when I really, started painting again. And well, I have a little thing. I don't know why, but I like dragonflies. So I always paint a little dragonfly. So this is how my signatures look on all of my paintings. You can put your full name, you can sign your name, you can put the full year, the date, anything that you like. It's just a way to like date stamp your painting. And I am probably going to add some more mangroves to this side later on, but this is basically where I'm at right now. It does take a little while to do the details. So just have fun with your painting, keep adding to the painting anything that you'd like. You can put a little fish jumping out of the water if you want. And then what I would suggest as well, down to the end, if you want to take a little bit of white paint and just put it around the stilts, anywhere that anything is entering the water, just to give it that kind of finished look, like this is the reflection in the water. That's the break between the tree and the water itself. And then of course, remember that the sun is coming this way. So you're going to have shadows, right? So try and just like take your brush, use just a little bit of black paint and just kind of make squiggly lines. It's just going to be like an indication of a shadow, right? So it's like that. It's just a shadow. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly a replica of what the tree looks like. It's just a way to indicate that there is a reflection in the water as well. And that's it. That's all that you really needed to know about painting your mangrove forest scene. Is everybody okay? Did you guys enjoy yourselves? You like how it came out? What did you think of mine? Does it look realish? Real-ish-ish?
Yeah, yours definitely looks real.
I don't think it's
Okay.
fair that you kept on saying, go look like just to compare and contrast to
It
what.
does. Look at that. That looks so good.
So you
Oh,
see,
wow.
but
That
see,
looks
Chris,
so good. No, no,
but
no,
Chris,
no. This is
but
you
see,
are.
Katrina, you can't say anything like this. You look at yours, look at mine. You can't say anything. You can't say, "Oh, this is so bad." No, you see how ridiculous you sound. I'm pointing it out right now, Katrina. You did a 10. I did like a solid 6. You can't do that. I'm calling it out right now. No more apologies. It was amazing. No,
But it
Katrina.
is
Oh, mine not
beautiful.
that
And
bad. Mine not that
Vanessa.
bad. If you want, you can put a bird. If you want, you can put a fish. If you want, you can put the contrast. What? No more.
Oh gosh. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
but
okay.
Vanessa agrees that both of them are beautiful. It's like
Yes.
it is, your painting is beautiful, Chandel. Like, do not compare to Katrina's, but yours is beautiful.
I think mine is great, but when Katrina's like, "Oh, it's not that bad," I'm like, "No, Katrina, stop. No, this is, we talked about your apologizing thing. This is one of those cases. No, 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 no."
Well, I love it. I love the it looks more like color blocking. It's a different type of art, okay?
I like it too. I like mine too. And I like yours as
Very
well.
good.
But I won't
Thank
put
you.
yours next to mine at all, ever again.
All right,
Yeah,
let me
and
just bring up a little
if
closer.
anyone else wants to share their oh, let me unpin you, Katrina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
wow. Okay,
David,
wait,
that's
I'm putting that
lovely.
in. Yes.
That's lovely, David.
Whoa.
You've got your
That is
clouds as well.
excellent.
And David moving in silence, ain't seen nothing pop up. What?
It looks kind of like a dusk. Like mine looks like sunset, but yours look like a little later in the afternoon when the sun has already gone down. Yeah.
Yeah, like mine isn't
Yeah, I
finished
had so
yet.
little
My
light.
tree. Mm,
That's still good. It's
Oh,
good.
yeah, mine isn't finished. Oh, wait, I need to take off the blurs. Let me. Effects. None. Okay, yeah. I didn't get to finish my trees yet. I need to
I
like draw
love the
in my leaves
colors.
because yeah, the brush is not working out for the leaves. I'm gonna use a pen and draw them in.
I love the colors. Yours is more like lighter, the sky is a little less cloudy. It's more clear, a very calm day.
Thank
I love the
you.
colors. Yes.
My white paint is very thin, so it's not showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah.
Anybody else wants to share? We could do a selfie with a screen grab of everybody holding up their painting like this. If anybody wants to. Oh, Amira, it looks so pretty. I love the red sea.
Oh, that's a pro.
That's
Thank you. I
beautiful.
thought it was like mangrove in a storm.
Actually, yeah, so it's oncoming storm, so the mangroves are gonna do their job.
I missed
Okay.
half of it because my computer froze. So I just like did it however I felt.
Yeah, I see persons are holding up theirs. So let me hold up mine. Katrina, you can put up yours and I can take the photo. So if you want to open, yeah. Eat and smile. Where's smile? Let's see, did I get it? I got it. Yeah, I got it. This is lovely.
Yay.
I think
I'm so
everyone's painting
glad.
came out so nice. Like we were
Yes.
having trouble with the blending, but I love all the different skies that we have. It's amazing.
Congratulations on unlocking your innermost artist, everyone.
Yeah, yay. Yeah, so this is the end of today's session. It was really great sharing today with you all. And if you would like to kind of stay connected with CCN or hear more from us or collaborate with us or become a volunteer, you can drop your email in the chat and we will reach out to you.
And yeah, if you want another one again, please share with your friends, other people who are interested in climate stuff. And we are happy to do this again, probably next year, right? We could do one every year. Make it an annual meetup.
Yeah, let's see. So yeah, if you would like to stay connected with us, you can let us know in the chat and we'll reach out to you after.
Afifa, can you add the join link to the website to the chat?
Sure, give me one moment. And I see Akila said, not next year, climate is changing now. So yes, Akila,
Yeah.
definitely important.
Um, Amira, do you want to say anything? To talk about anything? We did the call, but if you wanted to add anything more about CCN. So Afifa has put the website in the chat. We have our blog posts that are coming out. Thank you so much. I'm happy that everybody enjoyed. So like I said, if you have anyone in your country that's interested in climate and adaptation and joining, please put them on to us, send them the the website, sorry, so they can join. We have a lot of trainings coming up. We have other fun activities coming up. So please stay connected with us. And I'm so happy that you enjoyed. It was a pleasure for me. I loved that this turned out well and that everybody had fun. So Amira, you wanna say anything?
No, I know Mira's having some trouble with her internet. Yeah. Lisa, I am noting your email. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining and sharing today with us. Akila, Lisa, great, got it. Yeah, so thank you all for joining, sharing today with us. Uh, we will be in touch with you all and just have a great rest of your Saturday. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, Usman. I liked it. Thank you. Bye.
Afifa, you could stop the recording, I guess.